it's lessons to be taught and things to learn from. And it's okay. It's okay if you fail, if you make mistakes. It's going to be okay. It's never an ending to your story. Matter of fact, it's a part of your story, and it's a good thing. So
yeah,
that's the main thing I'd like to. If I can bring hope to those who feel like it's hopeless, that there's no hope. I'm a living example of that.
Well, Jess Key, thank you for joining the podcast today. So we were just talking about you're Hawaiian. You're originally from Hawaii, now living in Charleston.
Right.
With your husband, Sean, and your 3 awesome kids that I see at church all the time. They seem like awesome kids.
They're amazing.
So, Jess Key, now I have to know, we were talking about it before the show, what's your middle name?
Middle name is Kehauneni, which means the dew drops from heaven, like the dew on the ground. So that's what that means. And then Ka'inapu. What? Yeah, Ka'inapu. And that's I guess that fits my personality. That was a name given to me by my adoptive family. It was frolicking, wild, I don't know, horse or something like that. Just like the frolicky, just like free spirit, almost like Ka'inapu. So that was given to me by them.
Okay. And the name Jess, is that like a family name or anything?
I have no idea where that came from.
Gotcha. Cool. I have no idea where my first name came from either. Awesome. Well, we're going to be talking about, you're wearing the Team USA National Team Dragon Boats hoodie.
Yes.
And so we're going to be talking about, you're a world champion dragon boat racer, so thank you. You're kind of getting into celebrity status now, so I appreciate you taking the time to come on to the podcast. And we're going to be talking about sort of that journey and then just your journey growing up and how you became what you are today, which is an awesome mom, an awesome dragon boat racer, athlete, all the above. And you brought your 3 medals. So let's get into, you just came back from China.
From China.
Mm-hmm. And Kunming,
yes.
China. And you brought back 3 pieces of bling going on. So, and we'll get some up-close shots about that. Kind of tell us a little bit of how Team USA did in the dragon boat racing in China.
Okay, so I'm a part of the Premier Women's National Dragon Boat team, and our team did really well. So of the 4 races that we were a part of, we medaled in 3.
It was awesome.
So gold.
USA
all the way.
Right now.
It was an amazing experience. First of all, the weather was crazy. It was
crazy,
cold.
Awesome. Oh, crazy, not awesome.
Cold.
Oh, that is
rainy.
The worst. That's the worst in water sports, especially.
Yes. So you're freezing cold. Your teeth are like chattering. You're shivering. And then you have to turn around and race. And what was it? The altitude was 6,300 feet above sea level. So not only was it cold, rainy, damp, but you could hardly breathe.
Oh my gosh. You're setting the stage for just awesomeness though, because y'all medaled in 3 out of 4.
It was really tough. So.
Wow. Yeah, I did a triathlon one year that it reached a record low. It was only 4 hours north of here. So it went from one week being like 80 degrees here in Charleston, and then the next week with a little bit of going away from the equator, it dropped down to 38.
Oh my
And I had to swim. Which if y'all swim in dragon boating, it's probably a problem.
It would be
right?
a problem.
That'd be a problem, right?
Actually, there was a team that capsized. It was really sad.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But inside, you probably felt a little bit good, right?
No, I felt really bad for them.
All right. Well, made them make me look like a terrible person.
You're welcome.
Sweet. So why don't you talk about the gold, the silver, and the bronze that you got there?
So our first race was a 2,000 meter race, and we actually we got silver on that one. So that was the first race. So the 2K is definitely brutal. It's such a long
2K. So
2,000
trying to put that in
meters.
miles, that's like 1 point. How many miles? Do you know?
Well, 750 is about. So the 1K is almost.
It's about 1.25 miles.
Yeah,
1.25. Yep.
But that one is there's a specific way you need to race that one. I mean, it's a longer distance, longer stroke. Everybody has to be in perfect timing. It was we couldn't get to that at the end quick enough. It was a tough one, but we persevered and got silver, which is pretty amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So it was Canada, China, and then us. So we were all three of us on the medal stage. So pretty cool.
Wow. And then the bronze.
The bronze was the 500 meter.
Okay. Is that the highest?
500.
Or sorry, I was thinking 5K.
Okay. No, 500 meter. That was a really short one.
Right.
I don't remember the actual time, but that was a really cool, fun race. Really short and sweet.
Yeah. Right.
And of course, the 1K, 1,000 meter race was our gold medal race.
Wow.
It was so close. I mean, it was again. I think the same. It was China, U.S., and Canada.
Wow.
Really, really close race.
That is awesome. And so dragon boating as a sport, you were telling me it originated in China?
Right.
That's where it originated. So here in America, how do you find out about it? Do you Google coolest name of athletic endeavor and just like dragon boating comes up? It sounds cooler than kayaking. Even though kayaking is a pretty cool deal.
Funny story how I found out about dragon boating. I was working an event because I bartend on the side. So I was working like a really cool garden and gun event.
Wait, say it one more time.
Garden and Gun, the magazine.
Oh, okay.
So I was
Wow.
I was working their jubilee, their annual jubilee. So it was a couple years ago, and I met a girl from Hawaii. So we started talking, and she was like, "Oh, let's meet up with another friend who's also from Hawaii. I want you to meet her. Her name is Dina." So we all met up downtown, and Dina told me about Charleston Paddle Club, and she was like, "Jess, you gotta check it out. They have a canoe. They have a 6-man canoe." I was like, "What?" They have an outrigger, and I was stoked because that's my background, you know.
Right. So you were telling me before the show, outrigger
canoe is totally different. Yeah.
I guess explain to me again what outrigging is, and for the listeners.
So for the listeners, outrigger canoe is a 6-man vessel. So it's Polynesian. It's a canoe. Yeah. So you have 6 paddlers, and then you have an outrigger to keep you balanced, and that's on the left side of the boat. So you have an ama, so you have the 2 support, I guess it would be like a brace, and then you have the outrigger to keep you balanced. It's like a upside down banana.
Gotcha. Right. You were showing me a picture, and I was like, this puts a new meaning to the banana boat company.
Right.
Which, I don't know, they sell like suntan lotion or clothing. I don't even know what they sell, but I was like, that looks like a banana in the water.
Yeah, so I was so stoked about that to find out, there's a canoe club here and that I could get back into the sport I loved, I grew up doing in Hawaii, I mean, it was 22 years since I last set foot in a boat, period, just paddling. So I was super stoked about it. Found out about Charleston Paddle Club, joined their club immediately, because I wanted to get back to my roots. And then they said, why don't you come try, dragon boating? I was like, what's that? Sounds interesting, but sure, I'm up for it.
The name caught you.
I'm like, dragon boating,
Oh my gosh, is there fire involved?
So my first taste of it was definitely different. They knew I was an outrigger paddler because of my stroke, it was really different from theirs. But I fell in love with it. It just something about being in the water is really calming for me. It's just something that is near and dear to my heart. I just love being in the ocean.
Yeah.
It's like therapy for me.
Yeah. No, there's something so big to that. Yeah, you were showing me some videos and pictures of being out in the water with your waterproof GoPro.
Yes.
Which maybe one day I'll get one of those GoPros. It'd be my luck that I'd forget to seal it or something, and something would. It's
pretty awesome.
Break.
I mean, the cases that they come in.
Pretty spectacular.
It's pretty easy. You just snap it in and it's good to go.
I have an old saying that I can't have nice things, so.
It's really nice. I think it's an older GoPro and we still use it. So
nice.
It's still amazing.
Yeah. There's something so awesome because you were showing me some sunrise pictures.
Yes.
Which, that's an awesome time to just be outdoors. Like morning runs.
No distractions.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I love it.
And that's one of my favorite things too, is once I can actually once I get outside, and I'm like, all right, there's no turning back. I'm going to go exercise in the outdoors. But I'm with you on the therapy part.
Yes.
So that is so big. And so for what reason wouldn't surfing? Did you ever do surfing? Why didn't you surfing? When I think Hawaii, I think surfing. What happened?
I surf here too as well. So I dusted off the longboard. There's it was a piece of decoration on my wall, and when I moved to Charleston, I was like, what, I can surf here too? Oh, I love Charleston.
You can kind of surf here.
Yeah.
You'd probably take it to another level than I ever could.
No, it's just for fun.
You go to the washout?
No, actually I just go to IOP because it's closer to me.
Okay.
So I've never been to Folly yet.
What?
I know, never.
That's like the surfing place here.
I know. I heard. I was like, oh, I don't know where to park. I just never.
Anywhere except on the pavement.
Except on
the
the
pavement. Yeah.
I'll get a ticket.
You will.
Okay, thanks for the.
And don't perpendicular park either. I did that one time.
You did?
I thought it was just space efficient. Right? Think about it. It's just space efficient. You perpendicular park. And they gave me a ticket. The person next to me did it too. So I was like, oh, maybe this is legal. Yeah, exactly. And I followed the wrong lead. So got to take it.
Get you in trouble.
Now you know.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, now you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe you shouldn't take the lead from House Surfers Park either, because they're probably the last ones to like look up the rules and everything. Kind of like free-spirited people.
Yes.
Which is good.
They are.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And so there, you mentioned there was a big break from when you grew up doing dragon boating to now. So what was kind of a cause in the break?
22 years. So I left Hawaii when I was 19 years old, joined the Army and all of that. So,
oh, you were in the Army?
Yes.
Were you stationed with your husband?
Well, that's how we met.
Oh, you met in the Army?
Colorado Springs, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that part of your story. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you served in the Army how long?
It's about 6.5 years.
6.5 years. Well, thank you for your service. Did you get to, what would that make you, a captain? Did you get a captain?
No, so that's an officer.
You were
so I was enlisted
Gotcha.
Sergeant. So I got out as a sergeant.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. And so you went Army.
So I went to the Army. So that's moving away from Hawaii, period, just, would cause me to not paddle anymore. Cause
I was going to say.
Everywhere I lived, like my first duty station was Korea. I was 19 years old, went straight to Korea.
South, okay.
Mm-hmm. Not North.
I guess like by default, you probably went to South Korea.
South Korea.
Yeah. North Korea is a little cray-cray.
A little cray. Stay away from the DMZ.
Yeah.
No. So 19 years old, first duty station in Korea. And then after Korea, I actually joined the reserves, the Army Reserves. And then when I went back home, I just was like, I can't do just the weekend thing. I want to go all in. I was so motivated, and it just wasn't enough for me. I loved it that much. I loved the Army. I loved the structure. I loved how it changed my life. And I contacted my recruiter immediately. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it was like 3 months and I was in the reserves. I was like, I'm done. I want to go active.
Wow.
So that's what changed. That was a game changer for me, because reserves just wouldn't cut it for me.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. That's interesting. So you actually wanted more responsibility, I guess, or you wanted to dig deeper into that service.
I wanted that lifestyle. I loved it that much. So.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to, when I returned home, to me, it was the same old thing. There was nothing there for me.
Yeah, kind of no direction, no purpose.
No purpose. I didn't want to do the same things I used to do as a teenager. I kind of had them. It was a total game changer. So I did the paperwork, everything necessary to go active duty, and that took a matter of maybe 2 or 3 months, and then I went straight to Fort Carson, Colorado, and that's where I met Sean.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. So let's dig into that for a few minutes. So, because there's obviously the military is heavier on men. So was there someone in your life that influenced you to want to go military?
I was the first one.
You were the first one in your family to go military.
Still the first
the first one. Sure. Sure. Wow. So what do you think kind of made you want to go to the military? That's just atypical,
Right. So I graduated when I was, right out of high school, but I was getting into a lot of trouble. I was struggling with drug and alcohol abuse probably from the age of 14. Mm-hmm. So I had a very dysfunctional upbringing. So with that, that just translated into a lot of issues going forward. So by the time I was a senior in high school, I was definitely an alcoholic. So I struggled pretty much all through high school. And when I graduated, I got into, there's a portion of my life where I was struggling with depression because of a huge breakup. I was teenage dating and this, right. The love of your life, quote unquote. But anyway, till Sean came in the picture. Until Sean came in,
blew all the competition away.
Yes, totally. That's exactly what happened. But it was a funny story. It's like, I didn't know I was going through depression as a 17, 18-year-old. I had no idea, and that I was using the alcohol as a means of coping mechanism because I was never taught that as a kid. I was never taught structure. I didn't have any kind of values. I had a very dysfunctional upbringing. So alcohol was just a normal thing in my life. So whenever I was going through, there's a portion of my time as a senior in high school, I was homeless. I didn't have a home. I was just moving from all over the place. I had a lot of issues then.
That was maybe partially parent situation just wasn't going on.
Right. I mean, parents. So a little bit about my background. Do you want to start there now, or just like how I got into the Army? What do you want to touch on?
Yeah, no, go whichever direction feels right now.
So at that point, I was 18 years old, and a friend of mine introduced me to crystal meth, and of course, not having any kind of structure in my life, I said, sure, yeah, I don't care. I'm depressed at this time. So for about 7 or 8 months, I lived this life of drugs and alcohol, and not just the alcohol. I mean, it was full-blown crystal meth, which is a highly addictive drug.
Yeah. And
I did that for a portion of my, for that time period, that season. And one day I just snapped out of it, and I said, this is not a life that I ever wanted for myself. I knew there was more to me as a person, and I knew that I never wanted to be like my mother, which I was, again, following the same path as her. I love her, but I just didn't want to go there.
Right.
So I made a decision right then and there and said, I'm going to join the Army. I'm going to I want to go to college. I want more to life than this. And so I contacted the local recruiter. I don't know how that happened because I really don't remember. I don't remember.
Somehow things just happen and fall into place.
It just happened that way. And I made huge moves. I mean, I don't know how I did it. I really don't, because I wasn't in the right state of mind at that point of my life.
Yeah.
And I contacted the recruiter. We met, took the ASVAB. Funny thing is I had not slept for 3 or 4 days. And
what? Actually, that might give you brownie points in the military, just saying.
And then
if you can go.
Exactly. And then
totally. If you can go days without sleeping, hey, the military's like thumbs up for you. We want you.
We want you.
We want you. You could have gone Rangers.
I could have.
They go like a week without sleeping.
That's hilarious. And I'm still functioning in life. But
there you go.
But anyway, I was able to pass the ASVAB, and my journey started there.
And what is the ASVAB?
It's the aptitude test.
Okay.
To determine what job you would be qualifying for.
Right.
In the military, so your MOS. But long story.
Yeah, and so you said you want to go military. Well, first, you decided that you wanted something better for your life at that time, which is a pretty mature decision for an 18-year-old, right?
Well, someone who didn't have anything. I didn't have anything, no help, no family. I was on my own, literally. Not a single person there's going to help me.
So no siblings, or what did that structure look like?
No siblings. My brother was same situation.
Gotcha.
My brother was off on his own, but he made some bad decisions. So he was actually a drug dealer. So he chose that path.
Wow.
He didn't have any family as well. He was basically got the boot, got kicked out, but he chose that path. And that was not something I was wanting to do. Even though I was the abuser. I was doing the drugs, but he was like selling it. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dysfunction.
Wow. Yeah. And so you're about 18 and you go to the recruiting office, pass the ASVAB.
I literally guessed every question.
You just write C whenever you're not sure, right? Am I right? I'm right. You just put C. Unless they're like asking you direct questions and not multiple choice. That's when I really have trouble.
But if I was in my right state of mind, I'm sure I would have done much better.
Yeah, sure. And then you served how many years in the military?
About 6.5.
6.5 years.
But that definitely changed my life. It just opened the door to a lot of amazing opportunities and meeting people. It was like a culture shock for me. I grew up on an island. I've never been to the States. And I go straight to Fort Jackson. Fort Jackson,
right.
South
The first like
southern
core U.S.
yes.
like place that you go to
Fort
is a military base, Fort Jackson.
Yes,
it's like,
and I'm like,
this is America.
Yes, and I'm like,
it's all one big military
the southern
base.
accents. I was like, huh? I couldn't really understand like a lot of the drill sergeants because they had like accents.
Oh yeah, well, military has an accent in and of itself.
Yes. So I had to adapt to that. And they couldn't understand me either. I had like a little broken English, because people from the islands have like broken English.
Kind of some slang going.
Yes. So
yeah, there's slang in different areas.
Readjust.
Yeah, and it's funny we're talking about this. I just did a big F3 workout. So men's workout.
Yay,
you do FIA.
I do FIA. Yes.
And yeah, so it's you hear the cadence. 1, 2. Well, that probably didn't sound right.
Yes.
1, 2.
I love it.
How do the girl? My question is, how do the girls sound? Do they try to? I can't even try to do it. Do they do cadence in some kind of like military-ish way? I'm
the one that brings that to the table.
You bring yeah. Most of the other ladies aren't military,
right? So whenever I'm leading, I'll do like a sandbag training, or I do like the push-ups in cadence. I'm like 1, 2, 3,
right.
Or flutter kicks that I do that in cadence.
Yeah,
kind of thing. So
nice. Do you lead a lot of the FIA workouts?
Not a lot, but I have in the past. So I'm just, because I've been gone training for Team USA.
Right.
I've been
out of the
absent.
country a lot and training a lot.
I've just been absent, and I haven't been able to go to FIA a lot. But I'm back now, so
yeah,
super fun.
That's fair enough. Yeah, those are two awesome organizations.
I love it.
I'm super excited to see how they progress in the future, and getting young people eventually involved. Especially as dads get involved and bring their sons.
Yes.
I'm hopefully going to get Conlin and his dad to do a workout.
I brought Leilani
at some point. You brought Leilani to a workout?
She said, "I'm never coming back. Y'all are crazy."
There is nothing crazy about waking up at 5 a.m. to go do flutter kicks.
It is too early, and you guys work out really hard. So the first day she came out, we were running sand hills back and forth, doing and she was like, "No, Mom, that's a bit much." And I'm like, "Girl."
She'll come around. I didn't even want to go, because I went to military college. I didn't even want to go to my military college that I went to until I was like late junior year, I think, in high school. So. Things turn around once you kind of hit 17, 18, like even for you.
I did.
Yeah,
right.
I think things can come around, especially with good influences. So, did you have any coaches or anything? And I use that term loosely. Did you have any mentors at all in your life? Do you remember from that time period that reached out, or was it really kind of just you choosing your path? You know what I mean? Because internet was less big, 20 years ago and whatnot, or whatever time that was.
So as a teenager, I really didn't have a lot of positive influences in my life. I did have an awesome track coach when I was a freshman. I did a lot of cross country, so when I was a freshman, that was something I was really good at. He was really, he pushed me to the limits. I was able to go to the state championship as a freshman. I think I was 17th in the state, and then on Oahu, our team got gold or something. I just can't remember that far back, but I was really good in cross country.
Oh wow!
Cross country, paddling, and surfing as a kid.
Those are some good activities, though. Tell you what. So you first kind of did cross country.
I did. Yes, I was good at track and running. I just that was just a natural gift for me. I would not, I think in 7th or 8th grade, I was looking at some of the medals I found, and it was like a national kind of competition, like a track. It just said Track USA, and I think I was maybe 7th or 8th grade, and I looked at it, it was like USA Track, and it was like a bronze medal or something. I was like, what? I didn't even remember.
USA Track?
Some kind of competition when I was in that.
Man, it's like no big. I don't even remember doing this thing.
I just did it as in 7th or 8th grade. I had no idea. I'm like, oh, it says USA Track on it. Cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't train. I just did it.
Dang. I wish I had that kind of athleticism. When I was in high school, I thought 2 miles was like the end of the world. You know what I mean?
I could run for days. By the time I was a freshman, cross country was like a breeze.
Oh my gosh.
It was so cool. I loved it.
Wow. So you did cross country for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So after the military, so did life just happen in that sort of 15-year? And let me just say too, like you're saying this story, and it almost, if people watching video, it probably looks like this happened like a few years ago because you look young. But this was like what, 15 years ago, kind of the military stint. How long ago would you say?
So I joined in, what was it, 99. So it was a while ago, and I got out in 2003.
Okay.
So.
And so did life happen, or what did that look like that season? Because the young adult season can be challenging for anybody. Did it seem like a lot of the past was overcome? Did you immediately get plugged into a church? Kind of what did that transition season look like?
So when I joined the military, so I was 19. By the time I met Sean, I was 20 years old, and we met in Colorado. And basically a year later, we were married. So we were both married at 21.
Nice.
I mean, life.
When you know what you want, right?
Yes. Life definitely happened quick.
Yeah, marriage and all of that. So it was, we were both on our own for a while. We met, things worked out. We wanted to eventually get married, but it kind of happened spontaneously. How, we were on leave. He took me home to meet his family. We were on 30-day military leave, and we came back and we were married. I don't know what happened. Yeah, right. Just woke up one day and there was like a strange man like in your room.
So it worked out. 21 years old. Life happened so quickly. Our first child came 20. I was 23 years old, and life got busy.
Yeah. And then you got back into dragon boating. Do you feel like, because everyone needs kind of an outlet, I think you'd agree. Do you feel like dragon boating has been a huge outlet in terms of like also teaching you, like allowing you to think and process? You were talking about therapy earlier.
Right.
Could you kind of tell me, because obviously you draw to it, like you're very much pulled to dragon boating. It's just kind of your flavor. Could you talk to me about kind of what dragon boating kind of means to you in those regards?
Dragon boating means so much to me. Just paddling in general means a lot to me. When I was 11 years old, I was adopted. Okay, so prior to that, I lived a very dysfunctional upbringing. As a child, I grew up with many types of abuse, physical, mental, sexual abuse, foster homes, runaway shelters, you name it. Like I was saying, I was adopted at the age of 11, and my family, he was the father, which is the Mokuahis, they were very much into outrigger canoe paddling. He was very well known in Hawaii, very passionate about it. He is an original Hawaiian beach boy, so he's celebrity status for sure. He's legit. He was a wrestler, Hawaiian heavyweight.
Are they
wrestler.
looking for any 27-year-old young American men to adopt?
Amazing family, and they actually got me into paddling. So I'm 11 years old, 12 years old. I get into a canoe, and it's like magical. I was able to trust my teammates, learn about teamwork, period. Learn to trust people. And we were winning medals left and right. We had a great crew. So that is why paddling is such a near and dear to my heart. It's because that was a game changer in my life, period.
Right.
It meant so much to me. And so when I moved to Charleston and found out there was a club, I was overjoyed, just overwhelmed. I was like, are you serious? There's like I was like a little kid in a candy shop. That's how I felt inside. I was like, no way. This is like everything that's within me. This is what I'm born to do, and that's paddle. And there's no way that there's someone like me who had a 22-year break in paddling, and to be able to compete on a national level and to try out against a lot of amazing paddlers who have way more experience than me. Like dragon boating, I had no idea what that was about. My first training camp was when was it? In Sarasota. It was November of 2016. I went to my first mini camp.
So a little over a year ago. That was my first training camp. I've had 8 months of training, like 8 months of just paddling in general in a dragon boat. Went to my first mini camp with other Team USA hopefuls, and that was my first mini camp. So it was November, and then from November on, I trained until this past race, the World Championships, which was in October. So I didn't have a lot of training, a lot of experience either. So now I just got to ask, what kind of supplements are you taking right now? What kind of miracle drug?
Oh my gosh.
Vitamin C? How do you feel about vitamin C?
And guess what? I was vegetarian vegan through all this training. So 10 months of training, I don't think I had enough. I mean, I was I looked rough. I mean, because I was training, doing 2-a-days. I was running. I was doing FIA. I was paddling. It took a lot out of me, and it was very stressful.
Yeah, high-level athletes with which a national champion athletic team is super high level. 2-a-days is just a standard, I'd say, for those kind of activities. And it's funny, but you almost can't eat enough. Because you also got to I think you have to eat somewhat healthy as well. Eat fairly clean.
Right.
You got to get the micronutrients, in my opinion.
I was
Some
doing
people
a lot
debate.
of shakes too, a lot of like the vegan, the Vega shakes. That's where I was getting my
I've seen those at the hippie fair.
A lot of, yes.
You know the hippie fair?
No.
Earth Fair? Hippie Fair? All right.
Oh, Earth Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, we call it hippie fair. I used to shop there, so I can say that.
Yes.
Until I moved away from one. But yeah, they had the Vega shakes and stuff.
I had to do a lot of those protein shakes.
Yeah.
But now I'm like not a vegetarian anymore, so my life changed.
Amen. So you're eating some red meat, eating chicken again.
Everything. I could not stop eating meat. I was like,
yeah, got to eat the protein.
My body was craving it. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. Sure. Well then, so you're such a high level athlete. Is there any practical? We were just talking about nutrition. Is there any practical nutrition / training advice that you might give to somebody, whether that's directly for dragon boating, maybe it's for people like kayaking or just running in general? Any thoughts?
There has to be a balance. I feel, like a good balance of nutrition, family life, and sleep. I was not sleeping enough. I would get up and just go.
Yeah, 2 days.
It never. And given I did the 2-a-days for just 2 months, so
okay.
I really turned up. I just needed to step it up a notch. So
that's probably fair. I mean, the results seem to show. So
it was awesome.
So the balance is a big thing.
Balance is a huge thing.
Yeah. And so for you, did that look like, obviously you're a mom, you're a wife, you're serving at church, you have all those different things. How
working full time
on
top of that.
Working full time. Yeah, it's such a challenge.
So it's like 40 hours of corporate of work, and then 15 to 20 hours of training a week. So that's 60 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
Of life of training. So I was a lot of times away from home. So it was very, very stressful. I didn't really see my family a lot because I was out training. I'd come home and it's like late at night.
Yeah, sure. And that you definitely would you say your family was a big part of helping that process and support and everything?
There's no way I could have made the team, because if I'm not home, who's going to take care of the kids, drop them off, or cook dinner, just do life things? Like Sean stepped up, my husband.
Right.
I couldn't have done it without them.
Right. That's big. And at some point we'll maybe have some of your kids on the show. We were talking about it. So I know at least one of your daughters is like a 5-time champion in Taekwondo. Right.
Yes.
In Taekwondo. Do you feel like your tenacity in dragon boating / just athleticism in general, do you feel like you helped sway that? Or did y'all choose Taekwondo for her? Did she choose that? Like, how did that family dynamic look like? Because obviously what you do is a big influence in your family.
Right.
Do you kind of how do you see that influence in shaping your family today?
So when all the kids were younger, so Leilani and Elijah, when they were younger, they got into Taekwondo. I don't remember how we found the school, but we wanted something with structure, with discipline. We wanted a team sport for them, and we kind of Googled which schools, and then we found Savannah Taekwondo, and the kids.
Yeah, right. Because you lived in Georgia for how long again?
We lived in Georgia for 7 years, while Sean went to architecture school. So we wanted some structure, I guess, more so for my son, because we wanted some structure, some just teaching him honor, respect, all of that kind of great qualities that you need in life. And the kids really excelled in Taekwondo. So
nice.
And I feel like they are just driven, period. I know Sean and I are both driven people, but I think they just have it naturally.
Yeah.
So.
I want to know a little bit more about the journey into the national championship before we even dig into some of the other stuff. So walk me through the process. You mentioned you did 2-a-days. You mentioned you did your first training camp about a year ago. But, training for a world champion team, I equate it's probably similar to training for an Olympic team, I imagine. How did that transition look? You mentioned you hadn't rowed, dragon boated, or anything in like 20 years. Did you feel like giving up a lot? Did you have accountability where it made it easier to get up and train? What did that look like for you?
I would say the first portion of my training, I was doing everything on my own. So I would go to a friend's, my teammate's house, and she has a gym downstairs. So really,
garage gym. Garage gym.
Yes, okay. I mean she has a sauna and erg. Do you know
what?
Okay,
do you know that's another level.
Like legit. I mean, every piece of equipment I needed in order to train.
Okay, that's a gym.
I was doing it.
It's not even a garage gym.
She had like a retaining pond that I would take the canoe in and paddle in this gross retaining pond. And I was actually doing the wrong thing because it's stale, like stagnant water.
Yeah.
So it was actually harder to paddle in that kind of condition.
So maybe it was better for you because you trained with resistance.
Right.
It's like wearing a weighted vest when you're running or something.
I did that as well. But
hardcore.
I was doing all these things on my own. But it was a lesson for me because, when I went to do my time trial, I didn't know what to expect. I've never done a time trial in my life. We had to paddle a 750 meter kind of sprint in a one-man canoe, and I had no idea what to do, what to expect. I didn't have a coach here in Charleston, a national coach, so I really was doing things on my own. And so when I did my first time trial, it wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst, it was okay. But, at that point, I said I knew I needed a coach. I knew I needed help because I wasn't doing everything that I should have been doing. So I reached out for help. I reached out to the national coach and I said, can you please, give me some advice, give me some training regimens. What can I do to improve on my time? And then, that also was a game changer because I then, took 2 months to really step up my game and do 2-a-days and train in the morning and then I would go to work and then I'd come home, get dressed and go right back out to train in the water. And without having help of other people, like this coach, if I hadn't, reached out for help, I don't think I would have done as well as I would have.
Yeah.
Because you just can't do life on your own. You can't train on a national level and not have the experience as these other women had. You can't just do things and wing it. I had to ask for help, and that's what happened. And that was a game changer. And I was able to make the team. I was able to cut time down and significantly. So
did that make it a lot more fun too? Did you get to train with people?
Well, my coach was actually in New York, so he kept me accountable. I would shoot him a text message, hey, this is what I did today. This is a video of me training. Can you give me some advice? And then we'd correspond back and forth. So
gotcha.
He was really helpful in the whole process, and without him, there's no way I would have made the national team because he took my training to another level, and he brought what was already in me out, like all the talent, all the paddling that I've done as a kid. He just brought it out of me. It was there. Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, there was a lot of potential still untapped.
Yes, perfect word. Yes, a lot of potential. It was there, and I just needed direction.
Do you feel like the direction was in the form of a lot of technical changes in your stroke?
Yes,
or just
absolutely.
Volume?
No, it was definitely technical and how to train. He said, okay, do this, do that. I mean, you just can't go out there and paddle or run a mile, but there's different techniques, different types of training to do. Yeah. And I had no idea. Do this day, do that this day do sprints, this day do distance.
Right.
All these type of technical training. I have no idea. I had no idea.
Huh.
So he truly helped me. There's no way I could have done it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah. When I was getting heavy in a triathlon, I'd research a little bit. And yet even with running, yeah, you can go out and run, but there's even, do you midfoot strike? Do you front foot strike? Do you heel strike?
Very technical.
Do you have stability shoes for your arch? Do you have neutral arch shoes? what's your cadence like? What cadence do you want to shoot for? What heart rate do you want to try to maintain in endurance?
Yes, all of that I had.
Do you want to do intervals?
Yes. I did a lot of intervals. Correct. A lot of those.
Was it mostly intervals? What is it? HITT, high intensity.
Yes, high intensity.
H is it double I's? High intensity interval training.
HITT. Yeah, high. Yep. I did a lot of those HIIT training. I did. So in between, I would do distance, HIIT training, intervals. I trained with the elevation mask.
Oh, yeah, I got one of those.
While paddling.
My friends laugh at me, but I'm like...
No, it helps.
Whatever. Wait, so you had one of those in the water?
Mm-hmm. When I was paddling. Mm-hmm.
Dang, I'd be afraid if I capsized. I'd be like, double can't breathe.
I had a lot of stares from guys on the boat. Like, people on the boat, on the water, on the river, they just kind of look at me like, what is she doing? She's scary.
Someone with a Bane mask.
Exactly.
Bane is incarnated in the water over there, and he dragon boats. Who would have thunk it? Yeah, I've got one with an Iron Man. It costs like $20. An Iron Man cover on it. Yeah. Just because I think it's really cool.
It is cool. It helps your endurance.
Yeah.
And
I think so.
Develop the red blood cells.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget what it's called, like hypoxic or there's some kind of word that it does, that it kind of creates a less oxygenated environment.
Mm-hmm. So that definitely helped me. I mean, you can never train for 6,000 feet above sea level. I mean, but
especially here in the low country, we're like below sea level.
We're like negative.
The oxygen is so thick, you can eat it. In the morning, there's fog like every other morning.
So funny.
Especially when you're training on the water. I imagine there's got to be a ton of mornings where you're like paddling through the fog, right? Was there not as much fog?
Not as much when I went out.
Well, I'll definitely go running, and I'll see fog in the marsh a lot.
Oh, that's so epic.
So maybe just where you were, there wasn't fog.
Not too much. Oh, no. You're right. There was some.
There was some? At least some.
There was some.
All right, cool. Well, at least validate me a little bit.
Yes, I will.
Paddle through the brick wall of mist.
Yes. It was awesome.
With like 20-foot visibility. Hopefully no one else is paddling toward you.
At that time of day, no.
Yeah.
I was pretty much... There was a lot of kayakers in the evenings, but not so much in the morning.
Okay. I was out on the boat with a friend a while back, and there was someone doing a paddle board. I think it was a paddle board. He was paddleboarding across the harbor with boats and everything and wakes going on.
He's so brave.
It was like hardcore. He had some kind of pack, too, with an impermeable layer in case it fell in the water. I was like, man, that dude is like a pro water guy. I'm afraid just being in a boat half the time.
In the harbor?
Yeah,
in
the harbor.
Sup?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and we went by him and he just stabilized with our wake and kept going. I was like, dang. I don't know how I got on that, but yeah, don't capsize and watch where you're going when there's fog.
You can actually flip on that one-man canoe, but so it's possible to
and
flip.
Even though it has the
outrigger, yes,
the outrigger.
You can definitely. But that wasn't a problem for me in the river.
Yeah.
It's a part of me.
Yeah. I was born with salt water
in my veins
and riggers in my lungs. And so you talked about what dragon boating meant to you. So maybe let's touch on and dig into a little bit on kind of what you've even learned, maybe even going a little step deeper. You've talked about perseverance, which is a big part of your story. So why don't you kind of dig into what that's meant to you? And you mentioned a cool word as well.
I'll have to pull it up because it's it's a Hawaiian word. It's called ho'omau. Ho'omau is the Hawaiian value of perseverance and persistence. In practicing this value, we become more tenacious and resilient, and thus more courageous. Ho'omau means to perpetuate and to continue in a way that causes good to be long-lasting. Those who ho'omau do not give up easily, and they consider mistakes and failures to be temporary conditions from which to learn and move on from. That's, in a nutshell, what I learned in life. That's what I learned in life and through training for Team USA. Definitely to not give up, to persevere, even though your current circumstances could be unbearable, so to speak. But to keep pressing on and to never give up, no matter the circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned, too, kind of the bigger picture where, you now, 15, 20 years later, you get to now experience the good parts of life with being a mom and being a wife.
Yes.
But you had to make it through some of the unbearable times.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a huge lesson in perseverance, and speak toward that, too. But there's kind of a good result, right? there's something good at the end of persevering.
Yes, always something good. So never give up, and never look at that again, that your current circumstances as something that's going to be the end of your life, quote unquote. It's not. It never is. Mm-hmm. You gotta keep going. Got to keep pushing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so let's speak to kind of where you want the listeners. What do you want the listeners to really take away? And maybe that's simply it, but kind of what's on your heart for you want the listeners to take away something from this and apply it toward this in their life.
You can, if for those listeners watching and maybe listening, I'm someone who, grew up in the foster care system, someone who's been physically abused, mentally abused, who struggled with drugs and alcohol, with depression. I've even tried to commit suicide as a 18-year-old because I felt like my life would be better if I was gone and I wouldn't hurt anymore and I wouldn't struggle anymore. And it's, 18 years old, I was a kid. I had my whole life ahead of me. And at that moment, that feeling that, my current circumstances, I was feeling that I need to leave this world. I mean, that's not true. Don't believe those lies. It's a lie, and don't believe the fact that, okay, no one's out there. No one loves you. No one wants to help you. There's a ton of people that will speak life into you who are there. You just got to reach out for help. And that is the main lesson or the main takeaway for today was even though you may have a terrible upbringing. You may be going through a hard time in life. Maybe your parents are going through a divorce. Maybe you've been hurt or abused in some way or another. Just reach out for help. Never be afraid to do that. And that there's definitely more to life than your current circumstances. Because if I had succeeded in that suicide attempt, I would have been missing out on so much. I would have been missing out on everything. I would have not left, had the opportunity to serve my country, to travel the world, to meet my husband, which I would have never met him in Colorado Springs. I would have been still stuck on that island, I've never done the things. I wouldn't have experienced motherhood, raising children, going through the hard times in my marriage, which was not a bad thing. It's lessons to be taught and things to learn from. And it's okay. It's okay if you fail, if you make mistakes. Mm-hmm. It's going to be okay. It's never an ending to your story. Matter of fact, it's a part of your story, and it's a good thing. So that's the main thing I'd like to. If I can bring hope to those who feel like it's hopeless, that there's no hope. I'm a living example of that. Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, I can't add anything to that. That was just like complete, right there. That's some awesome advice. I love how you said it's not the end of your story; it's a part of your story.
It's just a part of it.
You know, the highs and the lows. It's just part of the story. I love that you have that cool journal too. That's probably just like one of many that you probably have over the years. But you got all kind of.
I'm a terrible journaler. I'm trying to get back.
Back
to it.
Just like the 20 years, from dragon boating, 20 year, then dragon boating world champion. You might be a world champion journalist. I don't know.
Journalist. I'm
soon
trying to get back, but that the gold medals are amazing experience, and I've never traded for the world. But it's just not always about the medals. It's about perseverance. It's about pushing on to challenge yourself, even though, you may have certain circumstances that may be against you, but it's really not. It really isn't. It's a challenge. Take it as a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Take it as a challenge. Well, then maybe my final question to you would be sort of looking into the future for you. Do you see dragon boating continuing kind of forever and ever? Do you think maybe it'll lead to some other goal? Do you have another goal on your mind right now for maybe the coming year or coming couple of years? Kind of what do you see in sort of the near future for Jess Key?
I love the experience. Was just unbelievable. Training with amazing athletes with Team USA. I feel like Lord willing, if I'm able to continue to paddle and train and go to these amazing world championships, I'm gonna go for it. I'm just going to go for it. the next one is in 2019. It's going to be in Thailand. So, I'm going to train and do what I'm supposed to, reach out for help if I need it. And if I make the team, I do. If I don't, I don't. It's okay. There's other world championships. I'm just not going to stress myself over it.
Go to the next one on the list.
So I'm just going to enjoy life and train and do what I love. And that's paddle and getting out in the ocean, surfing, getting back to my roots. So
That's great. I did one kayak involved race once upon a time. Have you done any kayaking, like racing or anything?
No, I have not.
You'd kill it. I don't know if there's leagues. I don't know if there's a world championship. You can look it up, Wikipedia.
I love any water sport. So
yeah, I did one race that involved running, biking, swimming, and kayaking.
Oh, which one is that? I heard of it.
It's called Ecothon.
I heard of that.
It's called Ecothon.
I would totally do that, but
you should do it.
I don't like swimming.
The swimming was the shadiest part of the race. Maybe I should lie to you and say that the swimming was easy. It was easy, but it was kind of shady because you had to swim from island to island.
Yes.
And so you had to literally run like a quarter mile up one island to swim just because of the current.
Yes. How did you do that? I'd be like freaked out.
A lot of trust because I didn't calculate it. I just went where they told me to go. So maybe now they've done it for a few years, they probably have it down. Probably
because they didn't do it this year, did they?
I didn't even keep up. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know if they get a lot of participants, but I do remember I YouTubed how to kayak the day before.
That's amazing. Are you serious?
Yeah, literally YouTubed it. Well, you talk about technical changes. I did not have the technical coaching.
So it's just like
I was like an Ironman triathlete, like plenty of cardio, pretty good strength doing CrossFit. And there were like people just blowing by me on the kayak. I was like, how is this physically possible to move that fast in the water and look good doing it?
Oh yeah.
So
did you borrow a kayak? Or
they provided them, I believe. Yeah, it was part of the fee.
And that was your first time in a kayak?
First time in a kayak.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
Well, I did it. Yeah, it was roughly 3 miles there, 3 miles back of kayaking.
Oh my gosh.
So
was it physically challenging? I mean, I can't imagine.
It was physically challenging for sure. The kayaking was kind of fun though. It was definitely
Kayaking's fun, but I'm talking about the swimming.
Oh, the swimming.
In conjunction with all of like the biking, the running, and between the islands. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was cool. The running was the toughest because you had to run on sand. So the biking, it was like 15 miles at the end. They were just like, we'll throw in biking just to say we did. It's like, go down the street and back. This is like a 4-sport event.
That's so cool.
But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, you should do that.
I would totally do that, but not the swimming part. That freaks me out. I don't know.
Put some floaties in, like, in a
a
pocket. Put some floaties in there and then blow them up really quick and just float by.
Oh, that current's nothing to me. That's scary.
Awesome. Well, any final words for the audience kind of before we wrap up? Anything else you want to share?
Well, if you would like to hear more of my story, you can feel free to contact me. We touched on a few things, but not all of it. But I would be glad to talk to you if you ever need help with any kind of situations where maybe you're dealing with, depression, with anxiety, with fear. I mean, I struggled with fear for most of my life, and I had no idea I was struggling with fear. Coming from a very traumatic childhood, that would make sense to struggle with fear. And now that I'm recognizing that it is an issue, it is no more because I've called it out. But if you need any kind of help, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be glad to, share my story with you in more detail and let you know that there's hope and not to look at that circumstances or that trial or that struggle that you're going through as an end. So
yeah, and
feel free to reach out.
And if you feel comfortable, we can add sort of whatever contact means you want in the show notes. What is the best means of reaching out? Is it like social media? Is it email? What do you think?
Either.
I'm
okay. Cool with either.
Cool. So reach out to you. Love that. Plug in contacting you. That's awesome. Any other plug shout outs? Plug in the Team USA. Anything else you want to plug?
Definitely my husband and family who's been there from day one, who's supported me like no other. And of course my teammates from Charleston Paddle Club and Team USA, my coach James, and a lot of many coaches out there who have helped me through this process. So a lot of people who've been cheering me on, praying for me, just too much to mention right now.
Sure.
A lot of people who has supported me from the beginning. So
fantastic.
Supported the rookie.
Oh yeah.
I was the rookie in dragon boating. Definitely, I was definitely the rookie.
Yeah.
Like Rudy, that was me.
You are the Rudy story.
I'm Rudy.
You are. You're the dragonboat Rudy.
Yes.
That is awesome. How's the song go? From I started from the bottom and now we at the top. There's probably some more syllables in there, but
that's hilarious.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, Jess Key, thank you so much for joining the show, investing your time, and coming on the show to speak into the listeners.
Thank you.
And
awesome.
encouraging listeners to think bigger and to dream greater. So
yes, absolutely.
thank you for your commitment.
We were meant